people must understand as being part of a movement and in people fighting oppression, you must understand is that when they implemented this RICO Racketeering Act, the burden of proof generally is supposed to be on the government to prove you guilty or, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. In the RICO, they are allowed to offer hearsay evidence that is not corroborated by any other physical, concrete evidence. So what you're fighting is what an informer says, and that's allowed to be given to the jury. And even if that informer has a lot to gain from his testimony, and there's no physical evidence to back up what that informer says, on that informer's testimony alone, he or she can go to the grand jury, and that grand jury, because it's a RICO indictment and part of the congressional statutes, anybody can be indicted on a charge. And that kind of evidence can be admitted in court. In state courts, you cannot have that kind of proof. You must have a much more solid base in order to, offer it as evidence even. So
this is a federal indictment.
This was a federal indictment.
So your appeal is on a federal level.
It's on a federal level. There was 3,173 prints of value lifted from crime scenes, from weapons, from safe houses. Of those 3,173 prints, 34 of those prints were mine. All of those prints were on public distributed information, such as Honor New African Freedom Fighters Day on July 18, 1981, Stop the Klan leaflets.
And pamphlets.
Pamphlets, general pamphlets that we handed out, that we used. One pinky print was on a leaflet around New African Freedom Fighters Day on July 18 that was publicly distributed, that was found in a so-called safe house in East Orange, New Jersey. That connected me to everything that was in that house when there was no proof whatsoever that I was ever in that house. No eyewitness proof, no proof whatsoever that I was ever in that house. So they offered explosive evidence against me. They offered a machine gun, a James Cagney type machine gun that looked like it was a collector's item. Never was connected to any act in any acts in the indictment. So all of the proofs in this case against me was hearsay, and the second side of the proofs was that I politically believe that brothers and sisters involved in our liberation have a right to struggle in order to be free. And because I have been a part of that struggle all my life, I will not capitulate and distance myself from their right to struggle in order for me to be free.
But
and I think that is an important part of the proof, because in this country they say that you cannot have a political trial, that your trial must be a criminal trial based upon criminal and federal codes. And I'm saying that the conviction of me was not because any proof was given that I was ever in any crime scene or a part of really any illegal conspiracy, but because of my political beliefs and because of the witness put forward and the type of defense put forward clearly demonstrated that I supported self-determination and national liberation. And if the acts in these indictments were connected to a struggle for self-determination, then it was my role, and it was important for me and our movement to look at and credit it as if we can prove that it was a part of it. And so, for that reason, the jury was able to make a political determination of my beliefs, as opposed to a criminal determination.
What was the ethnic composition of the jury?
There were 7 blacks, 3 Puerto Ricans, and 2 white.
Well, what can you say about that?
I think that it is important to understand that it's a crying shame. It's a crying shame.
Let me ask you this. One would say now, you can't really say much now. You can't cry racism with that kind of a breakdown ethnically in the jury. And it therefore seems to follow that the evidence is pretty strong against you if that ethnic composition in the jury would still find you guilty.
Absolutely. I think that that's the argument and that's the task that the appeal is going to confront, and that's the task that our movement must confront.
Well, in digest form, tell me how you're going to argue that.
Because the question is not whether or not the jury found the evidence. It's what the charge to the jury was of what the evidence is. And in a RICO Racketeering Act, conspiracy, the language of conspiracy, the association of or the association with, is enough to make the issue of a conspiracy real as opposed to the tangible act.
So you're saying that all of these bank robberies and whatnot have been put under the canopy of a conspiracy?
Absolutely. Like in South Africa, if someone from the ANC goes to a corner in Soweto or Johannesburg where people are hanging out drinking beer in a pool room, they go up on the corner. Everyone on that corner, if they do not want to be associated with the terrorist ANC, will separate from the ANC member walking up on that corner. Okay? And if we in America, black people who live in the U.S. of A, see a revolutionary or see people who are fighting against injustice, and they come and they participate and we agree with them and we encourage them to fight on, and we think that's good for the people, and we think that's good to be against oppression, and we associate and we feed and we eat and we hang out, we play basketball, and we carry on our political tasks understanding that they're committed to those goals and objectives, then we are connected to a conspiracy.